So basically, the topic that I'm talking about, friend of, reminds us that if we want to maintain harmony within our presidia or our sonata, we must be aware that our human pride, self-will, and passion will take over during our large group discussions. They may even burst into flames and take the forms of harsh criticism, disagreements, with insensitive comments that will result in hurting our relationship with one another. Now, St. Bernard is saying that there is no true virtue without charity. And St. Aquinas tells us that the habit of charity extends not only the love of God, but also the love of our neighbors. And Jesus in his gospel tells us that the two greatest commandments is to love God above all things and to love our neighbors as ourselves. According to St. Paul's definition of love, love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, not pompous, not inflated, not rude, not seek its own interests, not quick-tempered, and does not brood over injury. It does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. But what I like best is the last verse. It says, it bears all things, believes all things, and hopes all things, and endure all things. When it bears all things, it means inclusive of all things. Loving others is really accepting, respecting, and understanding others without any judgment. Especially when our membership is so diverse here, at least 65%, I would think 65%, are immigrants. Their major handicap is really the language barrier. So understanding that language and long hours of commute are the obstacles that prevent them from attending meetings. Now, I'd like to share with you one thing that from my own personal experience in understanding our immigrant brothers and sisters. As you know, last October, I started a new Chinese presidia called Our Lady of Xishan, Help of Christians. And the members in this presidia speak Fujianese, which is a totally different dialect from our presidia, Our Lady of China, that speaks Cantonese only. So majority of the members in these two presidia do not understand one another. You know, one presidia talks Cantonese and they only know Cantonese, and the other presidia is really all Mandarin, Fujianese. And none of them really speaks a lot of Mandarin or the other dialect. So it's two presidia that is totally separate. So the main purpose of the new presidia is to reach out to the Fujianese immigrants, because they consist of our 60% of our Sunday Mass attendees at our church. But there are also lukewarm Fujianese Catholics who come to church only on Thanksgiving, which is when all the restaurants are closed. And that's the only day that they have day off, totally. And Christmas. So when they come to Christmas Mass, they always go to the midnight Mass, because when the restaurants are all closed. So our hope to start the presidia was to start the Catholic Come Home idea, that program, hoping to bring these lukewarm Fujianese back to attend Sunday Mass regularly. But our result was quite discouraging. Only 2% of those that we visited come back. Then one day, it's almost the grace of God. I met a Chinese missionary priest from Toronto. And his work was totally evangelization in the Far East, in Canada, and across the whole United States. So I asked him for his advice regarding our situation, and his answer was a real eye-opener. He explained to me that if I truly want to understand the Fujianese immigrants and their hardships, then my focus should be on fellowship and not so much on their returning to Sunday Mass. He asked me to concentrate on visiting, praying with them, bringing the gospel to them, updating the church events with them, and keep them connected and listen to how we can help them. He said, until the church has sufficient resources to start a fellowship in their neighborhood on the days of the day off, that is all you can do. And that's the best you can do for them. So now I call that charity, because it really is inclusive of all, accepting their way of life, their long work week, their long work hours, and the long commute to our church. So may God help us all to empathize with our fellow immigrants and to understand their obstacles and difficulties and find a different way to practice charity towards them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.